How we doing, guys? There's a lot to unpack at the moment in this weekly update. So tune in. We're going to be covering off everything to going on with Binance and the SEC, Coinbase and the SEC, Coinbase and the SEC, who are suing them back again. And they were in Congress actually yesterday with the CFTC. So there's a bit going on at the moment, but I think probably the most notable thing at the moment is the reaction that we saw in price to the bearish news that came out yesterday when Coinbase was actually sued by the SEC for supposedly running an unregistered exchange. So that is very interesting to see that play out. We'll quickly take you through that, and then we're going to have a look at everything going on in the news. So we had this dump last night. We'll jump into lower time frames. You can really see it. We had this big dump off, which sort of came out of nowhere. I was glad to see that happen though, because I was actually short. I couldn't work out what was going on. It was such a large move compared to the rest of the candles through here, and it ended up being a news event. But it was about a $400 move, right? And then I was sort of sitting there thinking, the reaction was quite strong immediately after, and then we sort of chopped sideways and sort of didn't go anywhere and held the key levels down here. Nice swing failure pattern, right? Sweep these lows twice, and then gave a really nice entry candle here. So I thought, may as well get long here. It actually bought on this candle here, just in case there's a bit of a pump here from maybe some of the larger accounts, not seeing the money, not seeing the market sell off aggressively on this really bearish news, actually. And it just seemed like maybe everybody that was, there was to sell had already sold. So there's nobody left to sell. It was sort of the process going through my mind when I took the position down here. So I got long here, and then we pushed really aggressively pretty shortly afterwards in the New York session, flipped the range highs through here, right? That was a nice confirmation, little Morningstar reversal set up there off the range high. And yeah, just pushed continuously overnight. So was lucky enough to wake up and price was up here and ended up netting about a 14R in that trade, which I was pretty happy to wake up and be in. So since then, pretty nice SFP again at the top here. We did have bearish divergence there as well. So I think on the 1 hour as well, potentially. So this was a bull div as well on the other side. Yeah, bear div as well here. And I think more importantly, outside of the bear div, the thing to take notice of here was on the 1 hour and also the 4 hour, we did have some pretty strong resistance levels through here with these order blocks. And this has just been a strong level through here also. I think notably as well is the anchored VWAP through here. I do have it on pretty much all my other charts. This level, this VWAP, it's not really a level, it's a moving average, right? Has held down price multiple times apart from this one time that it broke through. And then once it did get back below it again, it has held down price again. And we were putting in bearish PA pretty much, right around that area, which has always been, pretty much for the last 2 weeks, been a great spot to be getting short. That proved right once again. So I actually missed the short this morning. I was out doing things and missed that one, but a really nice pullback at the moment into this break block. So at the moment, we do need to see that hold for this to continue to stay bullish. And I would like to see, the most bullish outcome here at the moment would be to see some sort of a bull flag here like that and then break up to the upside. If that does happen, we can sweep all of these highs here, which I think there'll be a fair bit of liquidity in this zone through here, sweep that and get a really nice push, then that will take us into this falling wedge, right? So falling wedges usually get 5 touches of the triangle. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 now. And this is usually how they play out when they're picture perfect. And this one is starting to look pretty perfect at the moment, but it's not confirmed until we break out of this downtrend. I think really important to note as well, and this is what messes up a lot of people when they're trying to trade patterns, this can also roll over like this, come back down to say 23,300, which is that monthly level, and then reclaim the bottom of this falling wedge. And then you end up putting some sort of morning inverse head and shoulders or something like that, and then it breaks out from there. And that's still, a falling wedge play with a fake out to the downside. But I think it's important just to know and understand how to play these. If we do start to round out through here and we start putting some sort of a inverse head and shoulders, and this starts to build up some pressure through this level here, I will be looking on the lower time frames on my DR chart. I'll show that to you quickly, guys. On my DR chart for, a break, something that will end up looking like this, right? Break the upside, usually earlier as well. So just after the gray box, break the upside and then pull back. And then I look for something like this in maybe into the 50 level and then a reversal out of there, Morningstar reversal or something like that. When we're getting towards those key areas, I look for those type of setups because those can end up playing out for huge return trades. If this ends up breaking out, we've been setting up this move now it'll be 60 days, right? It'll be 62, 63 days by the time. So if I can catch a low time frame entry and catch the breakout, and then my target is, from around this area here up to, up here or 31K or even higher than that, up to 35 into 38K, the return, the risk to reward on that trade is massive. So those are the little ones I like to snatch every now and then. They don't come around very often. They are pretty rare, but when you do and you can nail those trades, they pay off huge. So it's worth taking the time to invest into that, to learning how to do that properly. And that's really like the higher level of trading that you get to when you learn how to roll those lower time frame entries into a high time frame setup. So we haven't had a chance to do that. Realistically, the last one was back here, right? When we broke out of this area, you can see there was a little trading range actually through this area here. And it was the breakout of that trading range, that bull flag, after we flipped the range high through here, right? There was the reversal, the bullish divergence through here. We had a really nice range, flipped that. And yeah, ended up getting that same DR setup, low time frame entry, and then played out to there. And that entry it was pretty much like this, right? That ended up being like 112R or something like that to the upside, right? So pretty crazy if you can nail those trades. I mean, I ended up getting like 40R out of it and then close the trade. But yeah, it wasn't 112, but there was 112 available if I had held it through to just 2 sessions later. So something to sort of think about trying to learn and keeping an eye on, because we could end up getting that set up through here. And if, I do end up taking that setup, I'll give you guys a breakdown of, how that ended up playing out and how I ended up trading that. But that's one to keep our eyes on. Now, if this does fail and roll over, I think the really obvious levels to look for are 23,300 because that's the monthly level, and then 25K as well. Or it's realistically 24,500, right? Now, I think the most important thing to take note of here at the moment is, yes, we are in this larger time frame accumulation range. And in my opinion, all we've done is this area here. We're still in phase D. We're putting the sign of strength and we're just doing our sideways reaccumulation range above the main accumulation range, right? And that's just playing out in the form of a falling wedge. So this is usually what happens this part of the cycle. You get, the breakout of the accumulation, and you get some sort of, bull flag or pull back to the range high of some form. At the moment, to me, it looks like we're doing that in the form of a falling wedge. So I'm going to try and play that falling wedge until it's disproven. And then if it's disproven, we'll buy with everyone else at 23,300 and 20K, all right? Now, I think really important thing to note at the moment is the fact that every time we've come close to dipping below this 200 weekly moving average, prices bounced very aggressively off that, and we've seen a lot of buying. I mean, in Bitcoin, it's always been a good idea to buy when prices underneath the 200 weekly moving average, right? And we can see back through here, and also in the previous cycle as well. You can't see the line through here, but it did support perfectly all through the bottom of the market cycle, just the way as it did here, and then all through the COVID dump. This is the first time that we've actually seen price trade below the weekly 200 moving average. So I would be surprised if we reclaimed that and it didn't offer support the first time for at least a swing high. But let's see how that ends up playing out. If not, you guys know the levels that I'm looking for. Okay, let's take a quick look at the news because I think that's quite interesting. Everything that's going on at the moment. Basically, what happened is the SEC have come out and have taken action against Coinbase, and they've also taken action against Binance. One other thing as well that I think not many people are talking about is they're actually trying to freeze Binance US assets because they're saying that CZ has actually been commingling funds, which is exactly what Sam Bankman-Fried was doing at FTX. So they're trying to freeze their assets of Binance in US at the moment, which is pretty extreme. Another thing which is quite interesting is that Coinbase has petitioned one of the courts in the US. They've petitioned them to respond to a rulemaking petition, and they've told them they have to respond to that rulemaking petition within a week. So it's going to be quite interesting to see how that ends up playing out. So they appealed to the Third Circuit Court. I'm pretty sure this is in New York. We're going to see how that ends up playing out anyway, but that'll be something to keep our eyes on over the next couple of days. We have seen a few of the senators actually come out and pretty much just make complaints, right? So Senator Cynthia Loomis, and she's saying that they need to pass a bill for a Responsible Financial Innovation Act. Right. So that is going to be something to keep our eyes on. There seems to be a lot more pressure starting to come into play. A lot more of the Republican senators, because it's very obvious that a lot of the Democrats are very anti-crypto with, Elizabeth Warren and obviously Biden talking very negatively about it. And they seem to be all out against the industry ever since FTX went under, which is an interesting one considering how close Sam Bankman-Fried's family was with the Democrat Party in their fundraising efforts and things like that as well. Senator Bill Hagerty also coming out with a bit of support as well, and this got a lot of views, almost 500,000 views there. But he basically said the SEC is weaponizing their role to kill an industry, allowing a company to publicly list and then stonewalling their attempts to register is indefensible. And what I think is even more indefensible is after that coming out and then trying to sue them and fine them after they've been attempting to meet with the SEC and get some sort of regulation clarity and get some sort of registration process, but there is none, is what they're saying. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see how this ends up playing out because it could have huge effects on our industry. The SEC is basically saying that, all of these companies are wash trading, and they're saying that they're basically trading as a hedge fund as well inside the exchange. It will be like the New York Stock Exchange, basically running a hedge fund at the same time as processing everyone's trades. It's just not something that happens. One other thing that was really noticeable is that just before the news dropped during the day, somebody actually opened a ridiculous amount of puts, about 100,000 puts on Coinbase. And that was with a 4-day expiry. So with $107,000 on it with 4 days expiry. And then just last night or today, if you're in the US, the news dropped, which is pretty sus. And then those puts ended up gaining 2,572% in a matter of hours. So that to me looks like a bit of insider trading. Not too sure. You guys can jump on Unusual Whales if you want to and have a look into that and make up your own minds what's really going on. But I think the most notable things at the moment, we're holding above the 200 weekly moving average. This looks like a falling wedge to me until proven otherwise. Right? If we can get onto the lower time frames, we have the VWAP, which has held us down all through this range. So a flip of that VWAP, some sort of bull flag through here and then push the upside, I think, is the most bullish structure there. And then, we would have some sort of inverse head and shoulders as well, right? On the lower time frames, right, on the 1 hour, at the moment, we need to hold this breaker block. If we start trading below there, then we're going to hope that this 26,500 level holds. If not, we're coming back down here for sure, right? And then that opens us up to more downside, 25K and lower. But at the moment, it looks like this is trying its best to hold, nice pin bar out of it early in the day. I'd like to see a rounded sort of action through here and then push back up, flag out for a little bit, and then push again. So let's see how that ends up holding out. But the real key would be a break to now flip into making higher highs and higher lows and changing market structure and getting above this 27,300 level, right? So important thing that happened the other day is we actually had quite a large move up in the breadth, 35% increase, or we moved from 36% to 50%. This basically gives us a charted example of how many stocks are above their 200 daily moving average, right? So quite a large move up. And this tells us that there's actually a lot of the laggards in the sector actually starting to catch up to the leading tech stocks, which are basically being led by Google and Microsoft and Nvidia. The top 7, Tesla's in there as well, Amazon, etc., have been leading the market. And, that has been a big criticism that we're only around, mid 30s on the breadth. And there's the market, the SPX and the NASDAQ are launching. But now, at the end of last week, we actually saw a bit more of a shift in the risk allocations of the traders and holders into the more riskier assets, sort of the B class or not so blue chip assets, which I think is really important to note. And so let's see if that continues, because that could be a signal that we're actually starting to see money flow through different risk levels through the economy and through all the markets that could end up flowing through into cryptocurrency. And we start to see Bitcoin and Ethereum catch up because they have been behind the moves on the NASDAQ and the ES, right? So seeing something like this potentially for a long-term move on the ES, a sweep of this range high, I think that's probably that 4,300 areas, probably a level that wants to take out. Before we do get up there, I could see us ranging this zone for a little bit longer, or even coming back down to test 2440 and then going up. Similar to the NASDAQ, it does have this really obvious target up here at 15,200. So wouldn't be surprised, even if it does top out for a little bit here, which it looks like it might be, some sort of a bull flag similar to this action here, and then we go up to take out these highs. The VIX is also dropping as well, which is showing that volatility is lowering. So that, in combination with the breadth moving to the upside and the laggards in the SPX 500 catching up, those are all really strong bull market signals. Now, it is really important that we take note that we do have FOMC next Wednesday. We do have CPI coming out on Tuesday. So a huge week, which could be really pivotal, and everything could change. So need to keep our eyes on that. That is for sure. But the most important things at the moment for sure is to watch to see if we do start to see a drop in GDP numbers, drop in production. That could be triggering a slowdown and start to spook the market a little bit. And we also need to keep our eyes on unemployment. Until unemployment starts to rise, we're not going to have a recession, okay? That's just the facts. Because if we're at maximum employment, too many people have jobs for us to have a massive crash. So it'll probably just continue to, if unemployment stays low, probably just continue to grind up and to the right. Okay, that's pretty much it. We're going to take a quick look at Ethereum, which is looking quite strong. If it can take out this level here at 1918, then it opens up upside to pretty much 2K and then 2,115. All right, guys, thanks a lot for tuning in, and we'll see you all in the next episode.